and this might be the biggest or one of the biggest interviews, chats I'm doing, which makes me a little bit stressed. And thank you everyone who came. Make sure to like this video, I guess. Jared, it's very nice to meet you.
Thank you.
How
It's
is
good to
it
meet you as
going?
well. Do good. Mondays are busy. Mondays are busy, but very good.
Yeah, which region of the world are you based? Without like giving location, I'm not sure how anon are you. But,
I'm in. I'm on the East Coast, America.
right. Oh, so it's like isn't like super late or
Uh,
super early?
yeah, it's like 6 a.m. It's actually okay. Usually my Mondays start like 4 a.m. Yeah, so this is fine.
It's incredible. Like I was okay, he must be based somewhere in Europe because it's like, early afternoon or something. It didn't make sense that it's US because it's like for many people it's middle of the night, right? So
Yeah.
are you sleeping very little like this and start your day super early?
I don't know. It depends on the day. So we have teams throughout the world. So like so I just have like split days, I think, usually.
Mhm.
So we'll have like catch ups with Asia in the late evenings or early mornings. So like I
Oh
have a
yeah.
daily catch like 10 p.m. And then another at like 7 a.m. And then like a series through like that kind of bunches around both of those things. I do my best to not like spread every
Yeah.
like hour or something. I'll just schedule stuff back to back to back.
Yeah. Get that.
um, yeah.
Jared, are you limited with time? Need to know one
um,
thing.
Actually, let me double check. I think that
Yeah.
one of the benefits of sticking out or starting a little late here is I actually do have an extra. Yeah, I have an extra half hour here. So yeah, I'm good for another 70 minutes.
Amazing. Okay. Jared, because I've been covering on this channel a lot of Cosmos and I never really covered a lot of Terra. Previously I had some friends that were into Terra before all collapse happened, so they were sometimes on my channel stuff, but like I was never really deeply involved. I don't even know who are you. So if you don't mind like giving slightly your webcam is back. Okay.
Yeah,
If you
I have.
can give me like brief history, but I want to know like where was how did Jared learn about crypto? Like it doesn't even have to be any smart contracts, it doesn't
Yeah.
have to be Terra, but how Jared got into crypto.
Yeah. So I think it was like the summer of 2010, and my buddy and I stopped in at a friend's house, and he bought a gaming desktop, and the guy had two for sale, and he's like, do you want to buy one of these? I'm going to start mining this thing called Bitcoin. I think it's like going to be pretty big. And I was like, no, I don't get that. I'm going to buy beer. And I regretted that for, the next 9 years or wait, a little bit longer. And then he gave me a call and he was like, hey, I've started looking into Terra, and I'm just letting everyone know that I think this is like the next big thing. So yeah, that was like the start of it, and I started digging in, knowing what I kind of missed the first time in crypto. Um, I dug in pretty hard. I read through all of the documentation. Um, Kind of dusted off some skills and relearned how to do like some basic web editing and stuff, and started up a
Mhm.
validator. Learned a lot of things about DevOps doing that, and just kind of embedded myself into the community, assisting validators over Discord, and like slowly um, just slowly getting to know everyone in it, and eventually has turned into someone at TFL reaching out and asking if I wanted to interview for them. And I was doing doing pretty well, but not in this industry. And I thought, yeah, I'll give it a shot. So when the offer came through, I think everyone in my life thought I was completely insane. I mean, I took like a 70% pay cut and like, you know, a startup, and there's no real guarantee of any future. And I don't think I would have it any other way.
Was it like what was the date when you joined TFL?
What I would think we're working on one. So I think we're like 18 months in. I think it was July 2 years back.
Right. So Terra wasn't as big because with this pay cut, you like quite surprised me because Terra was this huge and very rich chain, right? But it was before it happened, before it like truly exploded. You were where you were working before that?
Directly before that, I was with Taco Bell, and before that, I was with SeaWorld. I know that that's super different, but it's one of the nice things about crypto, where we have people who say are just graduating from high school, and are in the space, and some of the most phenomenal coders that you've ever seen, and some of the hardest working people you've ever met. And we have people who are on their second or third career, that just maybe have insight at this point into how markets move and see, okay, this is the next technology that I want to spend time with, and are completely pivoting into the space. It's really in this way a very like democratized space. I would say it's very equal footing. Like everything is so new that you're more judged on your capability to learn and to implement those learnings than on your capability, or on say your like career history. So personally, I've benefited from that, and I keep that in mind whenever we do interviews or whenever I meet people or meet new protocols. Yeah, I judge more on like what the present progress is than anything else.
It's cool. Like, yeah, this Taco Bell background, I'm also like from very different background, and it seems I'm getting around crypto, and there's a lot of people who are just way younger, like very tech savvy, which I'm not. And I never thought that people like me could have place in crypto space, right? But I keep meeting more and more. Probably were asked about this a lot, but I do want to ask for myself. You of course don't have to answer. So we learned now that during the Terra collapse, they might be some manipulations, right? Let's put this aside. This was possible to do because how Luna was structured, right? Let's put aside, like I'm still putting aside a huge development at Terra. It blew up, it from small chain becoming huge chain. And I'm asking if you guys were ever aware that something like this could potentially happen. I even believe, like, listening to Do Kwon, that he did assume that something like this could happen. But did you expect this is how it's going to go down? Or maybe you never expect. Was it that did you plan to change, mechanism? Did you plan to change to be secure stable coin issuer maybe? Well, wonder what was the thoughts before that happened. Were you thinking seriously about that and the dangers?
Yeah, I mean, I think that improvements were constant and ongoing since inception. And I'm definitely the wrong person to go into depth on that, just because it's not my realm of expertise. Like I'm not excellent with the macro and with different forms of like economic attack. But I can say like that it was a constant process. So it wasn't like a stagnant development process in any way.
Okay, fair enough. With that, as it collapsed, we will go to Terra, because what you guys did after this, it's very impressive. But we still have two chains, and I believe the Lung Dao was in the comments, and they told me I have to denounce the Luna Classic, not whatever it means. So I'm sorry, because you are not part of that, right? You are working at Luna. This is completely different chain, right? This is the past. But recently there was a lot of drama, and I'm not sure what even Luna Classic doing. Is there still some development ongoing? Some people build smart contracts on that. Are you any like affiliated following that stuff?
Yeah, so I can give like a small, I think I can give like a small primer on like post crash and where we are now with that community. So post crash we had we had governance that dictated a new chain be developed in the state of Columbus 5, the classic chain. It was very clear that the market module was broken, being a cornerstone of that chain, and us needing a stable environment to maintain our developer community. That's what the community voted to do, and so we hustled, we got it done. Having the experience in launching chains, we were able to do this on a fairly short time frame. I think a lot of us didn't sleep. I know I was up for about 3 days straight during launch. But like
I can't imagine the stress you were going through.
it was fun. I know that a lot of people in the industry aren't or in the industry of like software development aren't used to those sort of things. I for better or worse have been expected to do that several times through other careers. So I loved it. I thought it was a very fun time to be alive and doing things. I think that when you're under a lot of pressure, that sometimes you do your best work, and necessarily so always there are things that you could or would have done different. And so the thought process, and coming back into like the how this evolved, like historically, the thought process was, okay, our community has just voted to move forward on Phoenix, and we're going to accomplish that goal. We're going to provide them with the necessary means, technology and economically, so a stable chain that they can build on, and token allocations to allow them to continue building. And so as we executed this, I don't think a lot of us ever looked back and thought there would be further development on Classic. So a lot of the community that was the original Terra community is now on Phoenix. That development did continue, and people are continuing to develop on the chain currently. And there are issues that have come up from that. I would consider the Classic community to be its own thing. It's its own standalone thing that's going on. They have their own wants and needs that are distinct from what we needed in the past on that chain, and distinct from what other chains in the Cosmos need. One thing that I think is a huge positive, I guess you could consider it a double-edged sword on their side, is in general they have less less capability in concentrated development of chain primitives. So like changing Cosmos SDK modules is not a strong suit that exists. They do that though, and they do it in really crazy ways. So they have Go developers that do work with them. Like Ed Kim is amazing over there. He's a very intelligent dude who has done some things with Core that I don't think anyone else has thought to do. And in this way, it's another corner of the Cosmos that we can see live and in action, developing breaking changes and developing unique changes that perhaps other communities would never think about doing. So I don't know. I think it's exciting because and anyone who develops, I think would consider it exciting, because like our job all day is to break stuff and then figure out how to put it back together So anyone that enjoys that type of like mental process, I think would have some fun in examining like how the evolution of that code base has happened.
Yeah, I understand. And maybe you saw some of the drama that involved Jacob Gadikan from Notional posting recently. I wasn't even following that closely, but quick breakdown is there is someone called All Nodes
Yes.
that is validator, and there is also infrastructure provider. They actually exist on like over 60 chains, a lot of Cosmos chains, and they also provide white label services. So what I believe is happening there, their largest validator with close to 20% of the power, and they also provide a lot. They have also a lot of white label nodes, but they control the keys of those validators. I believe that was the. So people just wanted to know what's your stance on that, and do you think this is okay for now? Do you think this is maybe unacceptable? Maybe something else?
Yeah, so there's just some really there's some really clear facts, and then what you do with those facts, I think is where people have the real argument. So like the facts are, you can't have your mnemonic and private keys available to other people as a validator. Like it's not your validator. It's the same as your crypto wallet. Like you wouldn't just go to whoever, or even to maybe someone semi-trusted, say like a CPA firm or something that was helping you do your taxes. Like you wouldn't also be like, hey, here's the balance of my wallet and also my mnemonic, just in case you want to like get in there for yourself. It's not a secure way to manage your funds. And in the case of validation, that responsibility is beyond just your personal funds, right? It's a duty that you have to secure the network, that you are part of a decentralized security system, wherein part of the security that you're providing is that no one else is able to access your validation. And so I think that so now comes like where people I think are really arguing. So you have a lot of people who picked up Luna Classic who are not tech savvy, and they need assistance in completing this process. They're not all going to be like me, who's willing to spend 2 months with their nose in the docs and like figure out how to run this themselves. And to their credit, there is less documentation in that community on how to accomplish this task from start to finish at all. So it could be an opaque process for someone who has really not a lot of good foundation on where to start it. So I'm not saying that white label providers are in any way to be put down as a category. So there is an acceptable way to provide this service. I don't think that folks who engaged with All Nodes understood what was going on, and All Nodes provided this service on either side. So they offered to either have the keys or to not have the keys, and a lot of people opted to allow All Nodes access. So then this is like the next part of argument that people have, where they're like, okay, well, we trust them to provide that service legally. A lot of people in crypto don't care about that argument, because a lot of us, I think, don't trust that system. Like, I think that any crypto OG that like really buys into mainstream media or like mainstream government actions probably I don't know if the other people in the space are going to take you super seriously, because like what we're doing here is establishing something that is permissionless and immutable, and those controls are in opposition to that ideal. So in the immutable portion of that, you have a provider who has direct access to to everything about 40% of the network. So it's enough to shut it down. If and it's a strong if, right? I don't think that really people on either side are saying this is like a possibility beyond an if. If they decided they were going to shut everything down at that moment, let's say something happens, some outlandish thing happens, and they're forced to do so, it would compromise the network, and that's even if that risk is 0.1 to the sixth or something, like that's a risk that I think a lot of crypto natives are unwilling to accept. Like that should never be a risk for a lot of people, and anything above a 0% chance is too much. And there's a really easy way to solve this, which I think is where the next disagreement comes in. So and we've seen it a lot. Like I've personally helped validators go through this probably, I don't know, 4 or 6 times, where you find out that there's something. Often it's that they've had a change in their DevOps structure, and someone isn't with the organization anymore that either has the keys or they never provided those keys to the incoming operations team. And in both those cases, the validator is compromised. And those teams have regularly just submitted on chain, changed their moniker to say like, hey, shutting down, redelegate, and opened another validator where they did have control over their keys. And those have been largely successful. People have their tokens over and said, okay, that's a responsible move, and we'll continue supporting validator X because we still like what they're doing. It was never about the fact that you're, hashing it in ABC. It was that your organization did whatever it was that I wanted to support. So I think that this is like an easy maneuver. I think that people have decided what they're going to do, and the community has to decide what their response is going to be to that. So some of them have decided they're going to take a path where they're going to be able to do exactly what I just described. Some of them decided, no, I'm okay with all nodes knowing that information. I'm going to continue using their service as is. Some of them have said, I'm going to continue using all nodes, but we're going to switch over now that I understand that this is a failure point, and I'm going to hold the keys at this time. So there are a lot of different paths people have gone, and and just like any network that you're involved in proof of stake, you need to be aware of which stance the validators you are delegated to have. Overall, on most chains, there's a non-difference between validators. Frankly, from the user perspective, they're generally have immaculate uptime unless there's some chain level issue. Most of these people at this point know pretty well what they're doing in the Cosmos. They're excited about validating on Cosmos. They have multiple validators running, and it's easy for me as a user. It's already easy to find validators that I understand and trust to validate on multiple chains and to delegate tokens to. So I think that as the classic community starts to understand some of this, that this will change, but it's dangerous. It's dangerous that there are a good number of folks in the community just saying, there's no issue. I think that any other chain in the Cosmos would say, there's a huge issue. And there's always white label providers in the background, to be clear. Every network has them. All nodes probably runs on, you said they're on 67 networks. I'm sure that they don't just have one validator in each one, right? They're white label provider. I'm sure that they provide multiple nodes. It's not whether or not that's going to exist, because it will. It's just a service that's going to exist. The question is whether or not there's someone who is able to pull down your ecosystem in the background.
Yeah. Thank you. This is great answers. Like as you said, we don't even know if those white label providers don't do like Sybil nodes by themselves, right? They might spin 5 nodes under different names. Nobody knows who is that. So obviously there is more white label providers. When you look through the set of validators on whatever chain, you will find a lot of validators. Go to their page and you learn they actually provide white label services. A lot of
Mhm.
chains is actually dominated by those large infrastructure providers, but of course it's the problem when one of them can take down whole network, right? Like, just want to add to this, like, we don't know, because Luna Classic has its controversies, right? All
Mm.
nodes is US registered company. Like, if they are asked to take it down, right, it's like it's a little bit of the issue. Yeah. So but yeah, it's important probably to educate people, explain to them. And as you said, community is not always really fully aware about that.
Yeah.
Time to move to Luna, which is go on.
It's the same as like in validator communities. And validators are very like almost cannibalistic with each other. Like they love fighting. Um, because they feel very strongly about what it is they provide, and they think that there are very clear paths that every other validator should go down. So I'm not saying anyone's wrong in it. It's just that they're very passionate people generally.
Yeah.
Uh, a lot of the times you'll hear like you should not be running on a cloud infrastructure. So don't use AWS, don't use Hessner, don't use GCP. Run on a bare metal machine. This is like a rally call that a lot of people have. But there are benefits to the network as a whole in providing that diversity. So I think it's more important that each of those validators' voices are kind of heard and understood, and then that the delegators understand the way that they are contributing to the network security. So if they see that on whatever network you're in, say you're super into Juno, and you see that the top 5 validators all say, yeah, we use AWS. Maybe you would consider moving your delegation to someone who uses another provider, or who co-locates, or who has a server space of their own, so that you would diversify against external threats to the network. The external threats being corporate policy or governmental policy. So say you find that the top 5 validators all use different providers, but they're all located in America. Okay, well then you may also want to move to somewhere who is in another geolocation. So yeah, I think the depths of decentralization aren't always well understood. And there's not a perfect solution. When we get into station, I can kind of walk you through what we've done with QuickStake. That's a start, but it's a randomized start. It's not a targeted start to solving this issue.
Yeah, man, like with the validators, there's just like an overall proof of stake chains, there is so much, because also essentially often when you look at this, a lot of these tokens, they belong maybe to the large funds, right? So it's not necessarily even retail delegating to them, because retail might be very aware, but like if those large entities delegate to like top validators, the network is centralized, because the retail is still such a tiny factor, right, of the ecosystem. So we actually want more people to come, I guess, buy the tokens, and we want actually those large institutions to redistribute, just dump the tokens, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. That's nice.
You put something very impossible, like and I hard to wrap my head around this, because something that happened before, which I mean collapse, it's was never done before, that you had community and builders, and the community of builders that actually stick around, right?
Mhm.
So this is really impressive, and you have healthy ecosystem. In fact, is at the forefront of the Cosmos development ecosystem, right? Let's not pretend, you probably has like one of the highest number of Cosmos developers, but also when there was collapse, a lot of other blockchains came and attempt to get the developers. So did you feel that change? What I want to learn, was there many projects that you really saw, hey, a lot of people left, or these core builders that were around there, that they actually stuck around and now building on Terra.
Yeah, and with the caveat, even though everything in everything I'm expressing is a personal view, but this in particular, I think I have a personal view that may not be held by some of my colleagues. And with that understanding, there was a disappointing shift. So like pre-crash, I spent most of my time in the developer community with our developer relations team, traveling to different hackathons, in forums, in Telegram rooms, answering things, developing developer tooling. Just constantly working with every builder that we had. Some of the most exciting builders that I worked with did not continue with us. I think that what happened there is that in the process of transitioning between chains, there was money to be made. So there was a builder allocation that people could get, and those teams that I enjoyed working with the most didn't want to participate in the knockout that it was to get those funds. Without any sort of structure, and the community didn't want our involvement at that time, and so we did not involve. But without that structure and an organization to kind of like lead the charge on that, a lot of things fell apart. And what happened is that those with the loudest voices, be they correct and excellent for the ecosystem or just loud, got funding. So I think this was very discouraging for a lot of builders. At the same time, so that's like the negative side. On the positive side of that battery, you got other ecosystems poaching the hell out of the developers. So you have like Osmosis offering like hundreds of thousands for people to just stop developing on Terra and switch over to Osmosis. Or Juno doing the same thing. Then you have even organizations poaching directly from like TFL or from top organizations that were associated with the chain, like just directly one-to-one and saying, hey, I like that developer, give me that person, and I'll double your pay right now for you to leave the ecosystem. And it's just kind of the nature, I think, of industry. And it was very jarring for me to go through. I'm a little jaded from the process, because I don't think that like the ideals of the chain held true. I think that for a lot of people, the money held true, and yeah, it's just disappointing. It's a reality, right? Like we all have to acknowledge we don't go to work. Most of us don't go to work because like solely because it's like super cool. We also have to like make money to pay our rent and like live. So at a baseline of taking care of yourself, I understand it. Yeah.
Which, if you can like also you don't have to, but if you would have to point one chain that really won because of the Terra collapse it affected a lot of financially because it affected other chains that rely on but that won in terms of developers, that hey, they got the best ones of us. Can you point one chain or rather not?
No, I don't think so. I think it was pretty well dispersed. And also a lot of people are pivoting back at this point. And to defend their decision to do that beyond just the cash, the entire market took a dive, right? So it wasn't us taking that dive, and they're looking around, and a lot of these developers that maybe started in Terra and were really good, or these teams that started there said, oh, if we don't diversify into other chains, we're screwed. This could happen at any time to any of the other chains. It's a reality of dealing in the space that we have just had to experience in our pocketbooks and in our day-to-day lives. And so they did that. So they diversified, and some of them are coming back. And now we have whether you want to call it an issue or strength, after going through that, a lot of the community doesn't want to fund anymore. So our community is very against community spin proposals at the moment. It's just a thing. They're like, yeah, we funded a lot of people to do a lot of stuff. And I think I saw a report recently that said this in the last year we put out, I think $6 million was the most in Cosmos for community pool spends specifically. And the community doesn't feel like they got the return. So they didn't have a return on investment on that. So they're very apprehensive to fund projects at this point, for better or worse.
I heard before, like people were making like really good money in Luna. That's just like the Luna, but obviously it was huge change. I wonder if you, as the Terraform Labs, because a lot of funding that was done before, I assume was funded with the tokens. But I wonder if you establishing this new new chain, if you actually had some maybe money on the bank deposits to actually fund the development, or you are relying now on the treasury in the Luna tokens as well, or you actually had some funding also aside that you can sustain right now?
Yeah, so it was very clear, both our stance and the desire of the community for Terraform Labs to be excluded from the Genesis distribution on Phoenix. And so we do not hold tokens as an organization. This has in some cases led to some misunderstandings where on most chains there is a organization which holds a large quantity of the chain's tokens. Depending on the age of the chain, it could be a very large, substantial portion, or it could be a slightly smaller portion. But in general, it's more than most other individual holders on the chain would have. That doesn't exist on Phoenix. So it can be a little bit of a different environment for people to navigate, especially when they have to navigate to a community pool and appeal to an engaged community on whether or not their project needs funding. There are just a lot of facets, and it's a lot more work than they might be used to. Maybe they can go with a pitch deck to another organization, different chain, and that organization has the tokens they want. They have to convince maybe 2-5 people, and they're good to go. In Phoenix, you have to convince an entire community of people. So it's just going to require more effort for you to address all of their concerns.
So there is no other funding bodies within the Terra right now? It's just community pool?
Predominantly, yeah.
Okay.
Like as far as there are still venture capitalists that are active. But yeah.
So as the Terraform Labs, you still hold some USD aside, like just not sure if it's
if the question is, do we have runway to operate? Yes, we still have runway to operate.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And also about the community pool, I'm asking because many people claim, hey, that's an inefficient way of operating, right? So there is a lot of chains creating these sub DAOs, and like this council will control the. Is there any plan like this on Terra happening in the community? They want to create the councils. What's your personal stance of it? Or you think that actually community pool is pretty good way of funding stuff?
So we went through like 5 iterations over the course of a year of these types of committees on Classic, and they had their pluses and deltas for sure. I can speak most clearly, I think, on the last iteration, which was our team through ecosystem accepting applications for grants. But we had 10 to the 49. I have no clue how to say that number, but 10 with 49 trailing zeros worth of money requested. Out of that, I think we funded in the low million, like 1.2 or something. And so if you just kind of look at that disparity of how many requests and how much money was requested to just one committee, versus how much was actually fundable. I think it's really clear to see that one, a community pool is like not going to be able to handle that volume. I mean, it was like a full-time job for us to just read over each one. And so like this is the equivalent of expecting everyone in a nation to read every bill that's passing through like their legislature. Like, there are people who are passionate and who are going to do it, but overwhelmingly you're just going to lose engagement. Now there are some huge drawbacks to that as well. In my participation, I was able to advise from like a technical standpoint, and there were often projects which slipped by that we wanted as engineers, that the ecosystem team didn't want, or the other way around, where so they're even in these small pockets, there are going to be a lot of differences in opinion. So I think that what we could do, I've proposed a couple times. You've got a couple choices. One is nothing, so do nothing. I think this is a fine choice for most community pools right now. So like the entire market's down. Why spend a ton of your tokens right now from your community pool when the market comes back? Your community pool could quadruple, 100x even in size. Your buying power could be literally 100 times more in 2 years than it is right now. So like consider whether you want to drain your funds now or not. It's a volatile asset. All of our chains run on volatile assets. So that's a viable option. It's an option that I think a lot of the Terra community is going with right now, which is do nothing. Even if the project looks okay or good, unless it's spectacular and we would fund it at 100x still, then people say, all right, don't fund it. You could form into a bunch of smaller subcommittees, which I think might be useful at this moment, because there are a lot of different factions, and there are a lot of very passionate factions that the community could decide to entrust a portion to at a time, and be clear, if your chain decides to do that I mean, there's not really clawback mechanisms for these. So generally, once you send those funds out of the community pool, generally they're not coming back. So just consider that an investment in that team's decision-making capabilities. So if you decide that there is an organization that you'd like to back on your chain, it's viable, but yeah, consider it like seeding a VC firm or something. It's not like that's going to have necessarily clear impact, or that they're, even if they work in best judgment, that they'll be successful. Like venture capitalists are not successful every time either.
Is there like just curiosity? Is there the right amount when you think when the grants are given? Should there be the cap in the crypto space? That's my own curiosity. Wonder because I looked at through the grants, there was many people giving like many organizations giving 100K, some 50K, some 150K, or it's okay blowing up to millions.
So something I've noticed being involved in this process, like very directly, is that even when something is a public good, there are generally people who will invest in it. And so if you're looking at a project as a member of the community and they have no funding from an external source, and their first source of funding is through community pools, you may want to reconsider that. Like, there's a reason that people who make this their living, who every day look at projects and say, yes, I think this is worth investing in, haven't invested in it. So be careful about that, even when it's a public good.
Yeah, that's so good. Like this is something I never hear anyone speaking. Like, hey, there might be the reason why others don't really invest into this, right? Like, look, you have amazing community. I must say, I mainly come from like Juno, this area. But I must tell that a lot of this community is like merged right now. And I'm like, I was really impressed how you build this amazing community. Wonder if there is like some secret sauce for that, because maybe you heard of Terra Spaces. There is the guy Finn, and he also like joined our communities, and I thought like, hey, I wish other communities would be like this. The guys from CoinHall and others. So I just wanted to say, like, I still feel Terra might have the best community out there, and this is why you were able to survive. That's really amazing to see. There are people asking. Oh, we have Cryptocito. There were some people asking. So I want to ask you about the feather, because people ask about the feather. There was a little bit controversy because feather is the software that allows easily spin up Cosmos SDK chain, right? But there were this was something that Ignite was doing, right? What's the feather? Is it the fork of Ignite CLI, or something different?
Yeah, so we have an open chat with the Ignite team because a lot of Feather utilizes Ignite. There are slightly different development paths and just like slightly different focuses. So like the focus of Feather is to allow for this like one-click creation of chains. I don't know if you're ever going to get it to one click, because you're going to have to be able to provide some sort of options to the user. I don't think users actually want that. I don't think they want to give up that extreme level. But you might have like a form that you can get it down to, like say 5-10 questions, something like this, and then you're able to spit a chain out on the other side. Ignite does a lot of really awesome things that enable that to take place.
Have you heard they face some struggles? They actually got laid off. This team who worked on CLI. Not sure if you follow the Cosmos drama, because I know Terra feels like a little bit outside.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm not super up to date with any specific chain politics, and that sometimes includes Terra. So like in the engineering, we focus on what we have to build. So just as a parallel question to the Ignite question, I often get like, what is Alliance doing to compete with ICS? And the answer is nothing. Like, we saw that we needed to build Alliance, and so we built it. There was never.
We're gonna get to Alliance, because this is really fascinating to me. I need to go back, because I skipped the question because I thought maybe no good to talk about community, but maybe it's actually like the most important thing. Okay, going back to the community. So once again, you have this amazing community, Terra Spaces and others that are so active, and you can see on this live, this is like one of the most popular live chats they have. I never seen community like Terra, to be honest. They are almost cult-like, right? They follow you everywhere. They believe what you build. How do you build community, and what other blockchains do so wrong while you do so right?
I don't know if other blockchains do anything wrong on this, and so I'll just speak about what I think has worked well for us. I think that we have some extremely passionate people who are willing to at least engage at a surface level, and often beyond a surface level, with like anyone who wants to onboard onto Terra. And I like to think I'm in that. I like to think that I'm in that category. We all have our days that are up and down, but in general, I'm willing to talk to just about any any team developing anywhere, and collecting those people, so putting that energy into the community, is something that collects those types of people and galvanizes them to continue doing that. One of the most important things that I learned in my career as a people manager is that you never advance the career of an employee for the organization that you work in. And so to let that sink in, to provide some detail on that. So every employee has a goal in mind. Like there's somewhere where everyone's life is going, and somewhere that they're interested in driving to. If those goals align with your organization, that's great. You can grow with that person. The person is going to have a good time growing your organization. If not, there's still a reason they're there. Like people do things for reasons. It sounds simple, but it's something you have to keep in mind. Like people don't do things mindlessly, generally speaking. They have some reason they did it. So they're with your organization for a reason. There's some reason they're there. In the space where those coincide, you have to be able to drive that positive connection, the reason they're there. You have to drive and connect that to where your organization is going at that moment. And if those paths continue, great. If they don't, then your goal is still for the benefit of the individual. And so we take this approach, and I say we as like a very ethereal, like other people who have this type of mentality, and recognize that. So other builders that and developers and community members who appreciate this type of thought process. As we look at projects, we don't say like, how are you going to bring, the maximum number of users or TVL to Terra? We say, how is your application going to be successful? How are you going to be successful in this community? What does that mean for you? And then align and say, hey, these are the types of things that we are looking at as a community. Do you think that this is something you're going to plug into? Yes, no, okay. Then you can diverge down that path. Because it's not the same as employment at that point. It's like, it's very clearly you can just go to another Telegram room. Like it's a click over there. Like, oh, okay, you want to build this thing? Well, hey, please build it here. But, I understand that there's another place where you can build that instead, and you might be more successful. And in making those individual connections, piece by piece, you provide to the community just that. You aren't there for the shilling of some like specific agenda. You're there to build crypto, and in the end, that's what's going to assist all of us. So like consider this fact. We have about $1 trillion market cap in crypto, all of it, Bitcoin, Ethereum included. All of crypto is worth about $1 trillion. Mm-hmm. Just the United States stock market is worth 40 trillion. So like, if we decide we're gonna fight each other now, like we are screwed. So I really urge you, in any community you're in, just don't fight the other chains. It's easy. You don't have to. Like we all win if a project succeeds. We win if they succeed on our chain or another chain, or if they develop exactly what we want them to develop, or if they develop something that another user wants. And we have to foster that community as an overall space.
This made me a little bit angry, listening to you. But it didn't make me angry at you or at Terra. It made me angry at other projects, because what you said is like so important. Like, and I don't know if this is reality, because I be honest, like I'm not deep in Terra community, right? So I don't know what you said is true. Looking that you have this great community, I might assume this is true. But essentially what you said, hey, like the project and the community is pretty much like one. It has to work. We have to accommodate them, and we have to listen to the community, right?
Yes.
While I see there is a lot of projects that down at the community, right? They are like, we know better. Shut
Yeah,
up
yeah.
openly, and it's sad to say, but I saw this chain is nearly collapsing despite not even having event like the first Luna chain. And they nearly collapsed just because of the approach to the community. So yeah, I think I might become lunatic, which is like just other thing I'm gonna tell you. Okay, I've been to some small spaces with lunatics, and it's probably the first time after Luna start merging to other chains I saw women's being participants of the spaces. I don't see women's in the other chains, right?
Hmm.
Like, which is my YouTube channel is watched 99.5%, but the males.
Mhm.
And in the spaces I often see women's in the community, which feels like that people feel relatable there, like they can find someone. I spoke to some people, so I think you just gave the secret sauce for the success, and it worked quite well for you, I guess. So yeah, thank you for that. If
Yeah.
someone can do the clips later, please do. And with this important part about community, because if not, I will have to do.
It, I've noticed that too, and I think it's been a particular strength of the classic community. Actually, they are willing to. I mean, look, it's exhausting, but their community is willing to do like 6 hour spaces. Like their average space is like 2 hours, and they'll just listen to every single person. Like, and if people interrupt each other, the other people will jump in and be like, "No, we're listening." Like let them have their piece, regardless of how outlandish it is. They're willing to listen. Um, yeah, it's kind of inspiring. From an efficiency standpoint, it sucks. But it's kind of inspiring that we can have
yeah.
uh, members of the community that are that dedicated.
This soy saying everyone should have little lunatic in them, and I see other communities learn from that, because I see now this sort of long spaces happening in other communities, but I feel it
Mhm.
might be due to participation of lunatics in the spaces and like kind of bringing this vibe,
Mhm.
and it makes you want to be part of this. Like I'm really like I'm now excited to be part of crypto when the market crashed, because there are these spaces and really cool communities, right?
Yeah.
um so there is interchain security coming, and I have not heard about alliance, which I believe Feder is together with that, right? Because if people can spin up the easy chains, then there is the Terra alliance trying to provide something, which seems to be on the like, we want to support those who align with Terra vision, but obviously people right away start comparing this to the interchain security, and it kind of sounds like, so if you can explain me, um simple words, what exactly is alliance?
Yeah. So it is an additional Cosmos SDK module. The way I've been describing it is like a DLC for your staking module.
Mhm.
Uh, then let me unpack that for people who don't know what that is. So if you're interacting in the space at all, I'm going to assume that you know what staking is at this point. Imagine if you were staking whatever it is that you stake normally, but you were able to stake other assets to that chain. So instead of just whatever that chain's native token is, you could stake another chain you were interested in, on the chain that you wanted to store your assets on.
That sounds so simple.
Hmm?
Like, instead of going to other chains, staking there, like you can stake all it here in
Hmm?
the one dashboard, I assume.
Hmm?
I want to know something. Does this module, because there would be other chains that can stake with the Terra, I understand, on the Terra chain, right? Does this require maybe validators running additional nodes?
No, it does not.
Huh. That sounds so simple and perfect. Because you know why I'm asking? Because so essentially you can scale to Terra Alliance can be composed of 1,000 blockchains, right? And these blockchains can stake with on Terra the native tokens without the need of running additional infrastructure, right?
Correct.
But those chains still run their own independent set of validators, or they don't have to.
They should, yes, correct.
They should. So it's extra layer of the security, right? So they can do it, and they all can also get what would be cost? Is it just the fee sharing, or they should issue part of the inflation to Luna stakers?
Yeah, so there are actually a lot of components that are determined by individual governance. So like each chain will have to make these decisions. And so what I'll speak about is like an example scenario. So not even an ideal one, just like let's just run through some options. So that we can kind of understand like what's at stake. So first off, you can decide like I'll just use Terra because I'm on Phoenix like daily. So say Phoenix has this module implemented. The the community is going to have to decide what assets they would like to enable for staking and at what weight they would like to enable that. If you were say a newer chain, you might begin by saying voting power of whatever imported token is I don't know, capped at 10% or something, or some ratio associated with your native token, so that you're able to have the economic security of the established token on your chain. But you might decrease that over time as your chain becomes more established, so that your native token is worth more voting power. In this way, you're economically securing your set against attacks. In the case of Phoenix, where it's a slightly larger chain, you might say we don't need to do that. What we are going to be here for is to drive primitives on top of this capability, this unique capability allowed here. So you might vote in, say, a variety of LSD tokens. So you would vote in the ability to stake, say, a bunch of different Stride tokens. And then you would be able to both hold that base asset, so hold the LSD token, and be receiving Luna rewards at the same time for your staking. And in this way, you're able to, like, get an extra kickback on what's going on there. So you have your LSD token that you hold, which is staked on the other chain. So you have a Stride token of Juno. So the LSD token held on Terra, the staked asset on Juno, you're receiving Luna rewards. And that's just freaking cool.
So it makes sense actually for other blockchains to do that, right, and become part of Alliance. So that addressed the question. Someone said, have you heard of mesh security?
Vaguely. I'm not well read in mesh or ICS, actually.
There was one question, and after that we will go maybe to the wallet, because I know we have the time cap. So this is like how you and other chains can work together to improve Cosmos stake. But want to reframe it a little bit. I feel that Terra never really fully joined Cosmos, right? And I still feel Terra did not join Cosmos fully. Maybe it had some benefits for Terra, but even if you're in Terra stations, it's hard to interact there with other blockchains. I don't even know if a lot of applications that exist, like on Cosmos, or I mean app chains, support Terra stations as well, right? So Terra station is its own ecosystem. You have your dexes, etc., but you don't participate in the Cosmos economy. What's the view for the future here?
Yeah. So Terra Station's rebranded to Station. It actually has a lot of interchain capabilities. I think the only way that it's lacking at the moment is its integration into any other applications. We do have documentation around doing that. It's not say difficult by any means for any front end developer to do. I do intend on improving that experience. It's not the focus of this week, but it's something I can acknowledge that we would like to improve upon just for the developer side. But again, you can do it. It's not like it's not going to take you all day. Whereas I might want the experience to be under a minute for a developer. I still think like an hour or two to integrate a wallet is pretty acceptable from most standpoints, which would probably be your current time frame. You got to read a one pager and then copy some code. So I think that's okay. But in the application itself, you're going to be able to interact with a variety of chains and an ongoing quantity. So what we're asking from chains for integration is that they PR the assets repo. They provide the basic information about their chain, and they provide the IBC channels in and out of Phoenix. The reason we're doing that is because we are routing your transactions using those. So when you make an IBC transfer in Station, it'll use that web that it's created in the assets repo to determine which IBC channels it should be sending the tokens through. And when you create a Station wallet, it's going to create it for all chains that are enabled. The one hitch that most chains are running into at the moment is that it does require a performant infrastructure. We're not an infrastructure provider like at TFL. It's not a business that we engage in, and so we require some support for that. It's a free service, so like compared to Kepler, who's going to charge you $360,000 to integrate into their wallet. We're not going to charge you that, but we're also going to expect that you take some responsibility for the traffic that will be driven to your network. And that's the biggest holdup for most people at the moment, is that they just have infrastructure.
And I see that the Station wallet is like, it kind of feel like, hey, we want to be Interchain wallet. Like it's quite obvious, right? Because you don't want to be Terra wallet. It's going to be right, because there is like, where is Terra at the Station? It's just Station. And so I want to know, like, when will I be able to? It's beautiful wallet. It's simple. That's what I want. And what I see you have seamless IBC transactions. So I want to know, Jared, when I will be able to keep my Juno atoms and whatever in the Station. I understand the responsibility of others, but when on your side it will be ready to for them to integrate.
Yeah, it's available now. They can integrate whenever they desire to. Juno is currently supported. Osmosis, we're still figuring out the infrastructure. It was running on a node that I had set up, but our traffic is now overwhelming that node. So we either have to buckle down and actually put a cluster together, or in some other way find a way to support. So Cosmos Hub is a little bit.
Can I stop you? Sorry. Yeah, and like, because I have the Station, I got the Station, but don't see Juno to be supported. I know I can do the transfers from the source chain to the other chain, but I don't see like I could hold the native Juno.
Yeah. Here, let me.
Because I don't have this in the available assets, but it's the first time I'm using Station. So maybe I'm doing something wrong.
Yeah. So here, let me find the right tab here.
You can share the screen.
Yeah. Yeah, let's see this one. Yes, that's the one. Yeah. So here you can choose to receive
Oh,
Juno
it's in the
tokens.
web app. Right? Or
Yeah, you could choose to do it. Oh, I guess the way the screen sharing isn't doing desktop. But yeah, in desktop it's in the same place.
I was using the extension.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah.
So we decided that for things like this, the extension just it's small. And that was the only reason. Like it's just small up there. You can go to receive in the extension, and you should be able to like scroll up and down. And I'm unsure why Juno's not showing up there at the moment for me. Am I in the wrong network? I might be.
Yeah, like but I was checking in the extension, so there was like nothing. I think like a lot of people, I'd love to use Terra like extension. Like I'm usually the extension guy. I don't know, maybe it's not the trend. Now maybe I'm specific, but I got used to these other wallets like Kepler, etc. Right? So I'd love to use it because I do like the UX here, and we have limited options now. We cannot do seamless IBC transactions in Kepler. So
Yeah, so I've just identified what's going on there. So now I'm seeing it in the extension. In the upper right, there's like a little like triangle here. And so if a network says it's temporarily disabled, that means we're unable to reach their infrastructure. And if we're unable to reach them, then we can't generate the rest of the
I see temporarily disabled network. Sorry. So that was the old confusion. Yeah. That's why I couldn't find. Cool.
I don't like that. And so we're looking at ways to fix that a little bit. The ultimate answer is like, I think we just have to run the infra. But there's a lot of debate internally on whether or not to do that. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money to start with. So it's a commitment that the organization is hesitant to make. Then you run into things like this. And so like, to me, that's unacceptable. Like to me, like we have to run the infra because we have to have a connected network at all times. But
maybe that's the way to grow, right? Like, hey, we have to sort it out. We want to grab the users. I think you could get a lot of users. Would you consider offering the wallet swaps so people don't have to integrate with the third-party applications, but you integrate applications within the wallet? So maybe I could swap seamlessly, Juno to Luna on Terra or whatever without going anywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this is the right one. So here, and we have some feedback we need to get through this week before we. Oh, hey! Does not want to move this? This is
I see.
This is an odd screen share, but yeah, we'll just zoom out a little bit here. So in the upcoming weeks, what we'll implement is something along these lines where you're able to make like say instant requests or instant swaps, which are like market swaps. So whatever rate you're going to get, just execute immediately. In addition to limit orders, where you say I want to make this particular type of swap, but only if it meets this condition within this time frame, and then also adding in dollar cost averaging. And then expanding those strategies down the line. But at first, I think we're just going to do DCA. The way that this is going to work in both market and limit is you're going to choose where you want to originate. So your originating chain, the originating asset, and then the destination chain and the destination asset. And so we should be enabled for swaps between. I'll have to confirm again on this, but it should be like every Cosmos chain and beyond. So in the next month, we should be able to and I don't think we'll support right away because we won't have the ability to support the the cold wallet aspect, the assets portion outside of the Cosmos for a little bit longer. But the backend that we're putting together should be able to move you from, say you want to move from Phoenix to an Ethereum parachain. You should be able to do that all in this interface.
Ooh, wow, that would be really nice. So you said Berachain. Am I hearing correctly?
Yeah. So even if it wasn't mainnet, if you wanted to move from some Cosmos chain to just some sort of Ethereum chain, should be able to do that.
Have you heard of Cantal? It's been going crazy these days.
Yeah, I have. I should have bought it a couple weeks ago.
The same thought, right? Was at 10 cents, 7 cents, they're like going something like this, and I really like it. Many people say EVM chain, no, but great culture. The community is also great. It's so that's why I thought of this. They have this amazing thing which is called unit of account, and it's Node. I know you guys were working on stablecoin. Would you consider creating something at the example of Node within the Terra ecosystem?
I'd have to get back to you on that. I'm not well versed in what that is.
Oh, I'm going to send you over. It's the stable coin, but they don't call it stable coin, but unit of account. I will send you the docs in the Telegram after this chat. Do you plan in the station to support NFTs so I can go maybe view the NFTs within the wallet?
Yeah. So the short answer is no. We've just kind of determined that. So the space is dominated by wash trading. So 50% of the space is wash trading. And that it is better for us to focus on other features, and let NFT marketplaces do what they do best. So I think TFM has a really nice NFT marketplace that's cross chain. And I'm sure those that are into that space know a lot more than I do about that. But I just think that there are much better UIs for NFTs than what we could offer. And so it's not something we want to put effort into until we're able to compete.
Yeah, shout out to TFM supporting Terra, Osmosis, and Juno, and multiple wallets. I had the pleasure chatting with them. Amazing guys. Rebel is amazing community member, Lunatic as well. So in Cosmos we have a little issue with the name services now. Also not sure if you heard that. So there is the ICNS that was supported and integrated within the Kepler, but just before that the Stargaze launched their name service and they were not supported. And there is the issue of the wallets shielding the name services, who should control Interchain name service. And I saw you tweeting somewhere today, I believe, there is Luna name service. Can you elaborate? Is it just for the Luna, or are you trying to be Interchain name service, and will it be also integrated with the wallet?
Yeah, so we were actually planning on integrating Luna name service today, and we've come to another implementation that we may just wait on a little bit. So we'll kind of look through the course of the week and decide what we want to do. So there's a couple paths we could go down. We could say, okay, the station team is going to maintain a repo of every name service that you might want to use in station. There is a movement to provide kind of a similar system to DNS for name services. So you might store in a repo the routing for all the different name sources, and then plug into that. I think that's what we're going to end up utilizing, and in this way we'll be able to integrate with all of the ones you've just mentioned, plus ENS and unstoppable domains and things along those lines.
Nice. Have you ever heard of Handshake? Maybe.
I don't think so. What is it?
Handshake Protocol. It's like experimental top-level domain service. I can send you also. But it's not like the wallet name service. It's actually domain name service. It's proof of work. Is proof of work chain, and Stargaze actually got they name that stars and integrated, so it could serve also as the top level domain, right? In the future, but it's not integrated with the Chrome. I believe Opera integrated them for the Web3 browser. I was just part of the community in the past. Thought maybe you. I will send you as well. Can we expect Terra on Meanscan? It would be really cool if I can look up everything there.
Yeah, so this is one of the issues we're facing with not being part of the Genesis allocation for tokens. So Meanscan's like standard thing they do is they expect you to support their validator into the active set. At the moment, that's between like $1.5 and $2.2 million worth of Luna to enter the active set. So not owning any Luna, that means that we as an organization would have to buy that Luna and then stake it in order for Meanscan to consider integrating Terra. So it's not really like a viable option for us. So either they have to become flexible with their onboarding process, or we're not going to integrate.
I understand. Is there any other alpha maybe that you'd like to drop?
Let's see. We went through that piece. I think we covered a lot of stuff.
I tried to cover everything. I think. Is there the question that you'd like to be asked, but no one is asking you?
I wake up every morning and I have hundreds of notifications of different people's questions. So I've never thought if there was a question they weren't asking me yet. But that's a really good question. I think that I might start incorporating that into my day. I might start looking at them and then saying, did any of them ask me the thing they should have asked me?
Yeah, it'd be like, I wish they would ask me this. They ask wrong questions, right? Okay, Jared, I'm gonna let you go. Okay. It's been 80 minutes. I believe you're busy with the meetings, and thank you for finding time in your schedule. Hope we can stay in touch. If you have something new coming, I can always share it. I'd love to be part of the community if I can cover something. If you think there is something I could provide myself useful, just hit me up whenever, station has something new. I'd love to do this. So thank you again, and thank you everyone for coming to this live chat, and I hope you guys enjoy. Thank you.
Absolutely. Pleasure. See you.
Take care. Bye-bye.